We are waiting for our little sightseeing tour boat, and we are going to share a little bit about the Trondheim history.
Trondheim was started by King Olaf the Sacred, I found. He recently I was talking to somebody and they called him King Olaf the Sacred simply because he brought Christianity to Norway. But he was traveling along and he brought his longboat up into a sandy area along a river, and he liked it, settled, and that became Trondheim. It has a long history. That was in 937.
You know what? We're just going by memory here. And Mom learned more than me, so we'll say it's in the 900s.
Well, I believe it's 937.
Okay, then what?
So he founded this city and built it up, and he was the king. He brought Christianity, which was not appreciated with many of the tribal chiefs, but the Reformation came through and the Lutherans came through and kicked out the bishop out of Norway. Now it's Lutheran.
Yeah, and so the main cathedral here used to be Catholic, and now it's a Lutheran cathedral, which we're going to go see an organ concert tonight. So, oh no, a bird just attacked Dad. That bird went right up and took a bite of his waffle.
And the bird is saying, "What's
Kick
wrong
his
with
butt,
you?"
Dad. Kick his butt.
This city is darling. We're down by the harbor waiting for our boat, and the air is wonderful.
Fresh air.
Fresh, yeah.
Norwegian fresh air, right?
The best in the world.
Woohoo!
Now, we're starting at our tour. It's quite an important point in Trondheim, which is of course the fish market Ravnkloa on our right hand side. And indeed, even up until today, every single day a fisherman will sail into this bay and sell his fresh fish directly from the boat. So we are definitely quite blessed with amazing natural resources in the region of Trøndelag, which Trondheim is the capital of. Trondheim, also due to its geographical location, as we are approximately halfway up north, and thus he founded Trondheim not just as a city, but also as the very first capital of Norway. Visit our dear neighbours, the Swedes, who are actually not too far away from Trondheim. Only about an hour by car and you would already be there. So we definitely do visit our neighbours quite often, especially in order to go grocery shopping, as along the border you can find these 3 huge supermarkets that our dear neighbours built just for us, so that we, due to the economical differences, can go grocery shopping for about half the price. So today we definitely love our neighbours and visit them quite often. And even though the Viking times might be more than 1,000 years ago, I do believe that the Norwegians are Vikings at heart. So almost every family here in this area will have a little boat which they will take out onto the fjord to go fishing or just to spend their leisure time in beautiful nature. And if you are really quite lucky, you'll even have a boat spot just right next to your apartment. Now for that, of course, you would have to spend a little extra money, as the spaces in the channel are of course limited. Notice that the current is getting a little bit stronger, which does of course mean that we're approaching the city river Nidelva, which we will now be sailing upwards to the old city bridge Gamle Bybro. Ja, und wenn man jetzt genau auf das Wasser guckt, dann merkt man auch, dass die Strömung etwas stärker wird. That city centre that we do have on our right hand side now is actually left a peninsula with only a very narrow connection to mainland. So back in the days, the second bridge that we can see from here now, Gamle Bybro, was the only other way to get to the city centre. Ja, und wir befinden uns jetzt im Stadtfluss Nidelva, der fließt von einem schönen See namens Send. Where the first settlements came to this area about 400 years before the birth of Christ. Now, ever since then, the city has been growing, and today it is the 3rd largest city of the country with about 200,000 inhabitants. And what also must be mentioned is that it is a very young and vibrant city, as we do have almost 50,000 students in this town, studying at the NTNU University, the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, where I myself also spend my days when I'm not working as a skipper aboard Freya. I'm a biology student, and indeed we do appreciate a great offer of subjects in the natural sciences as well as within the fields of engineering. Yeah. High tide would reach almost all the way up to where the houses start. So Trondheim as a city burned down countless times. 1681 it happened again, the whole city had burned down, and they finally realized that something had to be changed in order to provide safety for the inhabitants. Now they called for aid internationally, and Johann Caspar from Luxembourg came to help us restructure the city, and thus he made the streets a lot wider and in place regulations that said that most of the houses in the city centre had to be built in either stones or other materials so that it would be safer. So luckily that was also the last city fire that we've had here in Trondheim. Many hundred years ago, whereas on the inside there will be top modern renovated apartments, and due to their quite nice location, which is also quite close to the city centre, they are relatively expensive, as you might imagine. However, they're not too often for sale and tend to be passed on within the families, and thus I like to believe that a family that might have been working class many hundred years ago passed on one of the most beautiful homes in town to their descendants. And indeed the Norwegians as people are quite connected to nature. You'll either find them out on the fjord or hiking in a western area of Trondheim which is called Bymarka. If you look to the left now, you can see the yacht Vive la Vie. We sailed in here a couple of days ago. It's a yacht registered in the Bahamas, and speculations say that there might be a Swiss millionaire making holiday with us here in Trondheim at the moment. So every couple of days during summertime we do have visitors coming by cruise and exploring Norway from the waterside, just in the way that we are doing right now. Industrial harbour, where we will soon explore the submarine bunker Stora from the Second World War. The country did declare itself as neutral. However, on the 9th of April 1940, the German forces did arrive in Norway and occupied the country. Now luckily it was a more or less peaceful transition of power, as the population of Norway was generally quite small, and we were also quite peaceful people, not very keen on fighting. And thus the civil society was luckily well protected. Now, productive as the Germans are known to be, they started quite a lot of building projects while they were here. Among them extensions of the infrastructural system, such as train lines, and also the buildings of military facilities. Their master plan for Trondheim as a city was to make it the main port of their marine forces, and thus they built, among other things, two massive submarine bunkers, Dora 1 and Dora 2. And we can see one of them straight ahead. That was one of the two submarine bunkers that would together host up until 55 submarines that had their home port in these bunkers. Now Dora 2 would lie a little bit further into the industrial harbour, and you notice these portals at the water surface, and that is where the submarines would enter the bunkers during the war. And now you need to imagine the size of 55 submarines sailing into this corridor, which extends quite far back as well. The war then finally ended. There was of course a big discussion upon what to do with these massive submarine bunkers that were built here during the war. And as bunkers are neither very beautiful nor quite peaceful either, their first intention was of course to tear them down. So we brought on many tons of dynamite and these massive kettlebells. However, nothing we tried could tear down these massive bunkers, as the concrete walls were up to 5 meters thick. So in instead, we place it under historical protection and have today found a more peaceful use for it. It serves as office building as well as state archive, and in the back of this building you can even find a dancing studio. So today, peaceful time, even more peaceful use. We do of course today have a good relationship with Germany as well as the other countries of the world. And indeed with Germany we do also have a couple of things in common. Among them, it's two countries being led by two strong women of the same age. It is of course Erna Solberg for Norway and Angela Merkel for Germany. And they say they always have a lovely little chat on the state meetings. And some people would even suggest that they go to the same hairdresser. Now you know what that means for women. They are definitely good friends, and thus today we do have a good relationship. It's the third longest fjord in Norway. Now for your orientation, if we would be getting further to the right, we would be getting even further into mainland, whereas to the left, behind the island of Munkholmen, we'd be getting further out in the open ocean. And Trondheim as a city lies approximately 1/3 into the fjord. Now you might also notice it's quite wide, so indeed to get to the other side we'd need at least 2.5 hours, even going at full speed. So it's a lot wider than it looks. And the other side is of course mainland, with lots of lovely coastal villages at the shoreline. So the island that we're heading towards right now is called Munkholmen, which directly translated means the island of monks. And indeed from the 11th century towards the Reformation, 1537, there was a Benedictine brotherhood residing on this island. Now as it was common, they did of course ora et labora. They worked and they prayed, and well, among other things, they were also quite well known for brewing the very best beer of the area out there on their island. So even today, the local brewery Esedals has named one of their beers Munkholmen to remind of the monk's old traditions here. So you might not be surprised that just underneath us, on the bottom of the Trondheim fjord, there can still be found airplane wrecks from the Second World War today. So there's quite the innovative spirit around here, and on a daily basis you can see anything from autonomously driving boats to drones flying over your head collecting some kind of data. That's the spirit of Trondheim, it's curiosity and innovation. And thus we will find just straight ahead the fish market Ramboa, Munkegata, the street of the monks, passing the royal residence as well as the main market space, extending all the way to the cathedral. So when we do emerge from this tunnel, we'll see quite well how everything aligns beautifully. Even up until 100 years ago, the fishermen of this area would always sail all the way up north to Lofoten in wintertime with boats just like this one. And as these boats are sailed with a square rig, these fishermen were called the last Vikings. Now Freya can also be sailed. We've got an 8-meter high mast, and next winter I'll finally learn how to sew a sail, and then next time when you come to Trondheim we might be sailing her together, and then you might not be the very last Viking after all.